गुड मॉर्निंग एवरीवन, माय नेम इज़ राजू कुमार और आज के वीडियो में हम लोग डाटा ग्रुपिंग के बारे में पढ़ने वाले हैं। लास्ट वीडियो में हम लोगों ने एग्रीगेट फंक्शंस के बारे में पढ़ा था। एग्रीगेट फंक्शंस क्या होते हैं, एग्रीगेट फंक्शंस के मेन टाइप्स क्या क्या हैं, जिनमें से हम लोगों ने काउंट, सम, एवरेज, मीन और मैक्स के बारे में पढ़ा था और उसको एग्जाम्पल के थ्रू भी समझा था। आज के वीडियो में हम लोग स्पेशली डाटा ग्रुपिंग के बारे में पढ़ने वाले हैं कि डाटा ग्रुपिंग क्या है और डाटा ग्रुपिंग का यूज क्या है। बेसिकली डाटा ग्रुपिंग का यूज रोज को ऑर्गेनाइज करने में है। इट मीन्स इट इज यूज टू ऑर्गेनाइज रोज इनटू ग्रुप्स बेस्ड ऑन पार्टिकुलर कॉलम्स। Here you can see that data grouping means organizing rows into groups based on the values of one or more columns. डाटा ग्रुपिंग को हम लोग इजली लैंग्वेज में समझ सकते हैं कि इसमें हम लोग एक या एक से अधिक जो कॉलम होते हैं उनके अकॉर्डिंग हम लोग अपने रोज को ऑर्गेनाइज करते हैं। हम लोग एक एग्जांपल लेंगे, उसके थ्रू सारा डाउट क्लियर हो जाएगा। नेक्स्ट वन, इट इज मेनली डन यूजिंग द ग्रुप बाय क्लाउज। इसके लिए जो हम लोग क्लाउज यूज करते हैं वो हमारा होता है ग्रुप बाय। आफ्टर ग्रुपिंग वी कैन अप्लाई द एग्रीगेट फंक्शंस। डाटा ग्रुपिंग को एग्रीगेट फंक्शंस के साथ ज़्यादा यूज किया जाता है। एग्रीगेट फंक्शंस जो कि हम लोगों ने लास्ट क्लास में डीप पढ़ा था, जो कि कैलकुलेशन के लिए यूज होते हैं। सम मेन टाइप्स ऑफ एग्रीगेट फंक्शंस जिनके साथ ग्रुप बाय यूज होता है वो है सम, काउंट, एवरेज, मीन, मैक्स। So after grouping we can apply the aggregate functions like sum, count, average, mean, max to each group separately. अब हम लोग डाटा ग्रुपिंग का सिंटेक्स देखते हैं कि कैसे इसका सिंटेक्स होता है, कैसे लिखा जाता है इसको। फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल वी सेलेक्ट द कॉलम नेम फॉर विच वी वांट टू ग्रुप द डाटा। आफ्टर दैट वी अप्लाई द एग्रीगेट फंक्शन and after the apply the aggregate function we specify the column name in the parentheses for which we applying the aggregate function. Then we specify the table name by clause from, and then we specify the column name from which we want to do grouping. By using the group by clause we specify the column name from which we want to group the rows. Now our definition is clear. Data grouping means organizing rows into groups based on the values of one or more columns. It means we organize our rows into groups according to our columns. This is our syntax. Let's try to understand by an example. Let's suppose this is a sales table which contains the two columns. First one is the salesperson and the second one is the amount. Salesperson contains the four data: John, Alice, and amount is 1,000, 1,500, 2,000 and 3,000. Now our query is find total sales by each salesperson. It means it wants to says that find the total sales of each salesperson. Here is a mainly two salesperson, John and Alice. Rather it contains four columns, but John is repeated two times, Alice is repeated two times. Here is only two salespersons are available, and we have to find out the sales done by that salesperson. How it will be done, let's see. We have to write a command for this. We have to find out the total sales by each salesperson. We have to select column salesperson, select salesperson, then we specify the aggregate function. We have to find out the total sales. For the total sale we use the aggregate function sum. Why we are using sum? Because as we specified in the previous video that sum adds up all the values in a column. That's why we are using the sum aggregate function. Sum, and we are applying sum on the which column? We are applying on the amount column. Sum amount, then specify the as a syntax from we have to specify the table name. Now specify table name. Our table name is sales, from sales, and then group by given as find the total sales by each salesperson. We have to find out the sales for every salesperson. We have to group by salesperson. Here we write it as group by salesperson. This will give us result as. What will be our output? Our output will be, here will be salesperson, and here will be the amount. Here will be the sum amount, because we find here sum, so it will give sum. And there is John and Alice, only two are available, so it will give the results for the John and Alice and their sum of the sales amount. So for the John it will give us 1000, 2000, so 3000, and for Alice it will give 3000, 1500, it means 4500. So this will be our output for the query number 1. Now the next query is find number of sales by each salesperson. So here we have to find out the number of sales. So for finding out the number of sales, we use the count aggregate functions. Count aggregate function, because count has, here we can see that count aggregate function counts the number of rows. So by counting the number of rows, we can find out the number of salesperson or number of sales by each salesperson. So we have to find out the number of sales by each salesperson, so we will group by the salesperson. So let's write the command select. We have to select the salesperson, column salesperson, then apply the count on the amount, because we have to find the number of sales. So amount, and after that let's suppose we given the count column name as total sales, so we can also write it as total sales. Then we specify the table name, then from sales, and then group by column name. So our column name is salesperson. So our output will be salesperson and total sales. So this will be our output. And salesperson contain, there are two salesperson, John and Alice. John total sales, it means number of sales. Number of sales is John by 1000 and 2000. So number of sales is 2. 1000 and 2000 shows the amount, but the number of sales are 2, because it sold 2 items. For that there is amount 1000, 2000, but the number of sales are 2 only. So for John it is 2, and also for Alice it is 2. So our output will be this. Now we have to find the average sales amount by each salesperson. So we have to find out the average. So for average we will use the average aggregate function. So for what will be the command for this? We write the select salesperson, use the average aggregate function, applying on the amount column. We can give this column a special name with using aliasing function as average. Okay, now we specify the table name is from sales and group by column name. What is our column name is salesperson, because it is saying that what it is saying, semicolon is must at the last of the command. It is saying that we have to find out the average sales. We are finding average sales on amount by each salesperson. So we use the group by clause for the each salesperson. So here we are using salesperson. So what will be our output? Our output will be salesperson, and then average. And our salespersons are John and Alice, and the average will be the average of John 2000, 3000, so 1500, and for Alice 3000, 4500 by 2, it means 2250. Yeah, so this will be our output. Now we have to find out the minimum sale made by each salesperson. So for finding the minimum sale, we use the min aggregate function. So what will be the command? So we write select salesperson, min aggregate function we are using here, applying on the amount column, giving name this column as mini. Let's suppose we are giving the name as mini, and specifying the table name sales, then group by it given as each salesperson. So group by salesperson. So what will be the output? Our output will be contain salesperson and mini. And for John, our minimum amount is there is 2000 and 2000. The minimum amount is 1000, so it prints as 1000. And for allies, the minimum amount is 1500. Here you can see in the table that the minimum amount is 1500. So for allies, it will give minimum amount is 1500 as a result. So it is our result for this command, SQL query. Now we have to find out the maximum sale made by each salesperson, similar like this query, right? Select salesperson. For min amount, here we are using max amount, max aggregate function, applying on the amount column, giving name as maxi, and specifying the table name as sales, and we are using group by, giving here as find maximum salary sale made by each salesperson, that by we group it's using the salesperson column, group by salesperson. So it will give us result as salesperson and maxi. What will be the result? So it will contain the maximum value for the John and allies. So for the maximum value, let's see in the table, for John the maximum value is 2000 and 2000, and for the allies the maximum value is, among the 1500 and 3000, the maximum value is 3000. So the maximum value for allies is 3000. So this is our output for this query. So this is all about the data grouping in SQL. Now we will learn about the having function, having command. So let's take a screenshot from starting data grouping. Take a screenshot. After that, this is all the examples. या अब हम लोग हैविंग के बारे में पढ़ने वाले हैं. हैविंग भी ग्रुप बाय के साथ ही यूज होता है, बस ये इसमें एक कंडीशन आ जाती है, जस्ट लाइक अ वेयर. जैसे कि हम लोग वेयर यूज करके कंडीशन सेटिस्फाई करवाते हैं, और वैसे ही हैविंग में हम लोग कंडीशन यूज करते हैं बाय द यूजिंग हैविंग क्लाउज. सो out of the categories made by group by, we would like to know only particular thing, and that particular thing is known with the applying a given condition. So it is clear. It is similar to where. So let's understand by an example. Select count. So we want to count the customer ID, total number of customer ID, and country from customer. So especially we want to count the customer ID and country from customer table name, and group by, we want to group by country. Having count customer ID greater than 50. So this is applying here condition. So this is our condition. It means having हम लोग को बताता है कि हम लोग का जो कंडीशन सेटिस्फाइड होगा, वही कंडीशन वाला जो आउटपुट होगा वो प्रिंट करे एज अ SQL आउटपुट. इट मीन्स हम लोग पहले यूज कर रहे थे ग्रुप बाय एंड एग्रीगेट फंक्शन. अब हम लोग ग्रुप बाय और एग्रीगेट फंक्शन में अगर कोई कंडीशन अप्लाई करना होता है तो हम लोग हैविंग क्लॉज का यूज करते हैं. हैविंग क्लॉज क्या करता है कि हैविंग क्लॉज एग्रीगेट फंक्शंस के थ्रू कुछ कंडीशन डाल देता है, जिसके थ्रू हमारा जो आउटपुट रिजल्ट होता है वो और रिड्यूस हो जाता है. सो लेट्स अंडरस्टैंड इट फ्रॉम द एग्जाम्पल. डिपार्टमेंट एंड काउंट. फाइंड आउट द डिपार्टमेंट एंड काउंट हैविंग मोर देन 2 वर्कर्स. सो फ्रॉम एनी टेबल वी हैव टू फाइंड आउट द डिपार्टमेंट एंड देयर काउंट, जिनमें 2 से ज़्यादा वर्कर काम कर रहे हैं. सो इसके लिए हम लोग कमांड लिखते हैं सेलेक्ट डिपार्टमेंट कॉलम नेम एंड काउंट. हम लोग काउंट करें कौन सा, डिपार्टमेंट फ्रॉम वर्कर इज आवर टेबल नेम. ग्रुप बाय डिपार्टमेंट, वी आर ग्रुपिंग इट बाय द डिपार्टमेंट एज गिवन हियर. डिपार्टमेंट काउंट हैविंग मोर देन 2 वर्कर. तो डिपार्टमेंट कंटेन्स द नंबर ऑफ वर्कर्स. तो ग्रुप बाय डिपार्टमेंट हैविंग, so having giving us the condition, what condition, that given here more than 2 worker. So having gives us the condition that count department should be greater than 2. So here we had find out the count department, and having take a condition on that our count should be greater than 2. So having is used for applying the condition to know only particular thing. So this is all in this video. Thank you everyone. Please subscribe my channel for the tech content and the related educational content. Thank you everyone.